Hello lovelies, today we're going to be making this cute little walnut dollhouse for our rabbit from a few weeks ago, the tutorial a few weeks ago. He's needle felted, and you can find the link to that tutorial in the info box below. We're not going to be focusing on him today, just the little upgraded side of his house. I did change his eyeballs a little bit. I went ahead and added some little black half pearls for his eyeballs. And then for his house, I made some little winter storage snacks of blueberries and walnuts, a little potted plant, and a book, and a fireplace. So we're going to be focusing on that today. Go ahead and clean out your walnut shell and use a butter knife to kind of scrape all of the inside pieces away and make it smooth. I went ahead and kept the moss from the previous tutorial in one side for him to sleep on, and then the other side I decided to make more ornate. Go ahead and mix some acrylic paint with translucent liquid clay and paint that on the inside of your walnut shell. This is just to make it sticky and look a little more plastered and lighter than the inside of a walnut shell. And then I kind of drew out just a basic idea of what I wanted. I didn't do all of the elements because the video would have been way too long. So I just did some of the more basic pieces, and maybe I'll add to it if people like this video. To sculpt your base, add whatever color you want at the bottom. I liked the dark brown because just in case it showed through the little food stores, it would look darker. Keep in mind, if you didn't notice, there was some warping and cracking when I baked my piece. It's because I put a couple of different pieces in the bottom there, and some air bubbles got trapped in between the pieces, and those air bubbles expanded in the oven, and it cracked my piece, which was really sad. So I'm probably gonna have to redo this, but that's okay. So just make sure that's one big piece, and you won't have that problem. While I'm sculpting the base here, just a shout out to Sugar Charm Shop. She has a great polymer clay tutorial channel on YouTube, and I'm a huge fan of hers. That's where I've learned a lot of my techniques, and the basic sculpture and structure, I took inspiration from one of her tutorials. She did a mouse in a walnut shell. And there are a few elements that are similar, but I definitely stylized mine differently. But anyway, if you want to learn more about polymer clay sculpting, I highly recommend her. She's much more experienced. I still am definitely a beginner. I've only been working with polymer clay for about 8 months, on and off. So I'm still definitely new. So just to let you know that it's never too late to start, and don't be intimidated by thinking that your stuff isn't good enough. Just start somewhere, and your technique is gonna improve as you work on it, and you'd be surprised how well you do the first couple of pieces. You learn every single time you do a new piece, so I definitely recommend starting if you've watched any of sculpting videos and you want to get into it, because it's really fun. So right here, I was kind of experimenting. I wanted to do a rock kind of facade, like the rabbit had built the fireplace himself, and I tried just sticking it in the clay and they didn't want to stick, so I mixed some. This is just miniature gravel. I have links to all of the supplies actually in the info box below on my blog, but I just mixed some of that gravel, the miniature gravel, with liquid clay, and it makes it sticky, and you can kind of put this layer on top of the brown clay and it looks much better this way. So and it stuck much better. It didn't move around. It baked with a tiny bit of a shine to it. It came out really cute. I liked how I did this. So it's definitely easier than trying to just get the rock to stick in the brown clay. So highly recommend that. And then to sculpt the walnuts, I started with them kind of on one of my needle tools to sculpt it, but it was so small it didn't want to stay. So, and plus, since you won't see one half of it anyway, I went ahead and ended up just being more meticulous with the sculpting on one side and then kind of just a little bit on the other side, since nobody was going to see it anyway. So I made 2 of those walnuts, and then to sculpt the blueberries, I took some light pastel blue clay, and to make the little flourish at the top, I just kind of pulled at it a little bit with my dental tool. This is definitely easier than using the needle tool, using the curved dental tool. I have links to all of these in the blog post in the info box below. So to color it, I went ahead and colored them all the way around. The walnuts I waited because it's just so subtle on those, but with the blueberries they needed to be darker all the way around. So I just used some dark blue and dark purple chalk pastel applied with a dry brush, and that coloring will stick after you bake it. It'll stick, and make sure after you are finished baking you glaze it, because otherwise the pastel can eventually rub off. So that's how you make the blueberries, and you just I did put a little bit of liquid clay underneath the blueberries. The walnuts didn't have a problem sticking on their own, but the blueberries kept wanting to fall out, so I put some liquid clay down just to make sure the blueberries were more secure. I'm also using a dry brush right here to add some dark brown chalk pastel to all of the lighter colored clay to give it some depth and definition. And then using some liquid clay, I broke up little pieces of what I had scraped out of the inside of the walnut to make it smooth, and to act as like the little wood in the fire. I might go back and actually add a little bit of glaze mixed with some sparkly yellow and red mica powders to give it a little soft glow, like there's actually a fire in there, but I didn't do it for the video. Just fill that up and make it look like there's some wood in the fire. If you want to know how to just sculpt it out of polymer clay, you can look at Sugar Charm Shop's Walnut dollhouse tutorial. She actually sculpts it, but I'm not that talented yet. So, but the little wood, I like how it came out. And then to make the little book, I just use some white clay, and you know, make it the size you want. And the cover, I didn't roll enough out, so it kind of ended up segmented. The edges ended up segmented, but that's okay because it was laying on the side that ended up not so smooth. I realized after I had already made this video and was doing the voiceover that I actually didn't record making the little potted plant, a hanging potted plant on the side of the wall. It's really easy. Just kind of make a little cylinder and stick it on the side of the wall in a kind of a pot shape. And after you're finished baking and glazing and you're finished with all of the sealant and everything, just glued some little preserved reindeer moss into the planter, and it'll give the space a little bit of green and make it feel more homey. So this is our finished project. I glued, after everything was finished, with glazing and baking and everything like that, I glued a little ribbon on the walnut shells to complete his little house. Again, if you want to make the needle felted rabbit and the mossy side, I've put the link in the info box below. You can see right there where my floor cracked. You can prevent that again by making sure your base piece of clay is a solid piece and you don't piecemeal it together. And then the little planter, of course, I added later. It was just a complete afterthought, but it looked naked in that side of the wall, so I needed something there. I like how the planter turned out. So anyway, thank you for watching, and if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you.